the Bitcoin Alchemist, but
So zoomed in.
it seems like they couldn't decide whether they want to call him the Bitcoin Alchemist, because on the right-hand side it's a bit smaller. They also call him the Volatility Virtuoso. So they go for the double title here. And just for a bit of context, just to take a step back, obviously, Michael Saylor has been accumulating a BTC like there's no tomorrow, holding a stash of 470,000 Bitcoin via MicroStrategy. Also saw, as a result of the price action, his net worth, his personal one, increased from 2 bill to 9.4 bill. But then the reactions on the timeline were a bit more skeptical. A lot of talking going on whether this is a top signal, whether this means the bull market is over. Or a couple of posts, I'm going to bring them up real quick. Like this one, looking at a Bitcoin chart and looking at other prominent people like SPF, and basically the BTC top that we had last merry-go-round at 69K when he made the cover of Forbes, and now it is Michael Saylor's turn to be on the cover. Then also going a bit back more in history with Elizabeth Holmes, the infamous Theranos founder, who also made the cover. So there's been a bit of FUD around that, and a bit of, the question asked, is this the top? Obviously, Forbes puts a lot of people on their covers because it is a magazine and they need a person on their cover. And yeah, correlation is not causation in this case, but it does beg the question where we are in the cycle, and when we are in terms of basically mainstream media coverage of what is going on. And it seems like Forbes, and the Forbes cover specifically, seems to be a measure of that. But then again, I wouldn't, personal opinion, read too much into it. Yes, there is a systemic risk if the BTC price would plummet significantly, and that potentially at some point could be, a black swan event. But then again, that's not tied to Michael Saylor being on the cover of the Forbes, but more to where the BTC price is going in the future.
Interesting stuff. Great breakdown there, Legendary. David, maybe coming to you straight away here. We're talking about institutional appetite. I guess this goes into that institutional bucket. What are you thinking? Not just about Saylor being on the front cover, but I would be curious to hear your thoughts on that as well. But also just the general institutional demand that I guess Saylor has exclusively inspired, but is inspiring. I suspect he's clearly the biggest cheerleader for Bitcoin there is. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with Legendary in terms of not reading too much into like the cover stuff. I think in crypto we always love to find these linkages and causations for like top signals, but I don't think this is one of them. I think like what Michael Saylor has done with MicroStrategy is like a phenom. It's unbelievable. Like the way he is creating products for institutions, like being able to issue debt at like 0%, in a world where like private credit is increasing so massively is amazing, right? And why do people want that? Because the way he's structuring these things with the convertibility premium, like it's a great product, and institutions are smart, right? You can buy that, you can hedge it out. That's why these things fill so quickly. That's why it's just like unlimited cash. And now he's coming out right with this preferred equity as a new ticker, STRK. Again, like 3x the demand they expected. Goes back into that yield perspective, creating a dividend on these stocks. I think some people may forget like that MicroStrategy still has like free cash flows that they churn out from their underlying business. Now, as a proportion of their size, that's kind of gets smaller and smaller as this thing grows, but they do have the ability to support that. I would love to see other companies start to adopt this more aggressively, but it's super hard because Michael Saylor's in a unique perspective of having this company and basically having the controlling voting rights, whereas in a lot of companies, right, you have to get through so much red tape, throw so many votes, governance boards, all this stuff. So it's a slower process. How many of the companies behind the scenes are trying to do this? You're starting to see more pop up every day, right? Like even from other jurisdictions, whether it's Hong Kong or other areas. So I think he's really writing a playbook that institutions are starting to take note of because it's going well. And obviously, like Legendary said, if Bitcoin starts falling, what then happens, right? Well, it could get pretty hairy for a while. But luckily, the way he's structuring it, right, it's debt. Now with the preferred equity, it can be converted. There's always like these convertibility options. So we'd have to see what happens there. But for institutions and the TradFi guys, they love these products. Like, these products are great products. You can hedge them out. They get the upside. They protect the downside with these convertible bonds. So, I mean, it's fascinating to watch this play out. I think it's honestly something that will be talked about in business schools.